coffee, then I'll go. Thought that I'd just drop by and let you know that I'm leaving town tomorrow. I'll cause you no more sorrow. I'll just have a cup of coffee, then I'll go. I brought the money like the lawyer said to do. It won't replace all the heartaches I've caused you. It won't take the place of loving you, I know. I'll just have a cup of coffee, then I'll go.
Welcome back to the channel, Grand Columbia. Welcome to Coffee Time Live on this gorgeous day, May 1st. Excuse me. We got a bunch of things to cover today. If you saw my posting announcing this, I actually listed the 5 things I'm going to cover. Of course, there may be some more, and then we'll do our usual Q&A. But as always, let me go down through here. And first of all, acknowledge Yuka, who once again did his contribution before we even started. And also for Alejandra. And what else we got here? George, thank you very much. Ditto, same thing before we even started. Phil, how you doing, Phil? C. Bernal, greetings from West Palm Bay, Florida. Howdy. Rob, you miss it yet? You've been gone a week. Mike Jarvis. Now, I keep asking you if you want to ride with me to PriceSmart in Pareda. No. Now, through the grapevine, I heard you went to Pareda and never mentioned it to me. Of course, I'm going to take great petty offense at that. Matt from Washington, D.C. How you doing, Matt? Yuka, again, from Finland. Thank you. And Guy, good day from Prince Edward Island, Canada. Looking forward to the channel. Well, I'm glad you guys are here, of course, as always. And I don't have any major announcements today, but I think I got a few things that are kind of interesting. Let's see. What are we going to talk about? Well, before I get to the 5 topics, I want to remind you, if you're not aware, today is May 1st, which is Labor Day internationally, otherwise known as Commie Day. It's a typical protest day in Colombia, and there's nothing really announced for here in Armenia, but if you're in Cali or Bogota, stay away from crowds. That's all, they kind of go crazy in those 2 cities. Medellin, it's fairly mellow, but I would avoid the crowds definitely in Cali and Bogota. Everywhere else, it's kind of a party. It's not a big deal, but you're in Cali and Bogota, at any moment it can kind of erupt. So you've been warned. Alejandra, Coleman, Andromeda Surfer, and Judy, hello all. Okay, so what are we going to cover today? This is what we're going to cover today. We're going to review the mask mandates. We're going to review entry requirements. Yes, I just did a video, but there seemed to be some confusion. I have no idea why, but I'm going to just quickly go over it again. I'm going to tell you how I became a bully. Yes, apparently I'm a bully. I've been called out. A furnished rental apartment that came to my attention. I think it's overpriced, but I will let you know about it anyway. And I'm going to give you a lesson in car repair. Yet one more reason I'm always telling you, you really don't want or need a car here. I had something interesting happen, so we'll talk about that. All right, first of all, the mask. As of today, it actually started long before today here in Armenia, but nationwide, the mask mandate is now gone, with the only exception of some public transport, like the train in Medellin, for example. The airlines, I think, are still possibly, it's going to be hit or miss. Hospitals, definitely. You go to a hospital, visit somebody, they're going to require a mask. You would think they would be following the science. But anyway, so there's no indoor or outdoor mask requirement in Colombia anymore. JB, hello from Miami. How you doing? Now, the entry requirement, I don't know. I really thought I was clear on this. But here it is. This is from the health ministry. I circled it. You can always pause this later at another time, go back, look at the timestamp. We're about 5 or 6 minutes in, and the key thing is circled here. However, he stressed that we are expanding to unvaccinated people who will be able to enter Colombia. To do this, they must present a PCR test no older than 72 hours or an antigen test no older than 48 hours. Okay, this was relatively new. So whatever we talked about last week, this has been since then. So it is PCR or antigen, and so for some that'll be good news. And it's PCR or antigen to return to the United States. The U.S. is requiring. Basically, what changed is in order to get into Colombia, you had to have a vaccine passport. Well, now they still may ask for it. As a matter of fact, I was contacted last night by somebody who flew into Bogota last night, and they asked him for it, and he said no, and they said okay, and they didn't even ask him for the PCR test. They just pushed him on through. Now, the way it is they may ask you for it. You are no longer required to have it. You don't have to have proof of vaccine. But if you don't have proof of the vaccines, then they will officially be asking you for the PCR or antigen test showing negative. Now, whether they do or not, here's the thing. You don't want to, spend your money on a flight coming in, blow those things off, and then find out you can't enter. So, get the test. It's not a big deal, and you'll be all set. So here, the health emergency in Colombia doesn't officially lift until the 1st of June. And so this was an interim move that I think is very welcome, and it's a pretty good indicator that they're probably going to just stop all of this by the time we get around to the 1st of June. And as I mentioned, here in Quindío, we're not even having any cases, big or little. It's just, it's become kind of non-existent here. Okay. Coleman from Dallas said that. Mike Jarvis, Alejandra didn't tell you we were going to PriceSmart. I asked her to let her know. Yes, I did. When you were on your way home. Yeah, exactly. Yes, she did tell me, Mike, that when you were on your way home. That's when she let me know. I wouldn't have gone anyway, but I just figured I'd give you a little harassment about it. All right. Now let's get to how I became a bully. I found this out in an email this morning. I woke up to this saying that I'm guilty of harassment and bullying. And here's the proof. This video has been removed for violating YouTube policy on harassment and bullying. And no, it wasn't when I said Petro was a criminal and a murderer, because that's a fact. This was a video from 2-3 years ago about how to get a retirement visa. And what they're talking about is at the end, I showed my actual visa that was in the book. And you say, well, it's personal information, because that's what they're saying, that I posted up personal information, like I doxed somebody. Yeah, me. And there was no personal information. There's no address. There's no phone number. There's no social security number. It does have my cedula number of record, but that's public information. That's not anything. There's no reason to covet it. It's not a big deal. It's not like that's tied to anything that will raid a bank account or something. So it basically just had my name and that number, and but they deemed it, so I put it in right away for review, not because I really care. I mean, it's 2.5 years ago. Some of this stuff could very well be outdated, but it just annoys me that they do this stuff. I mean, it's been there. So for 2.5 years, it was okay that I bullied myself, but now today it's not. So I sent it in. Of course, I instantly got it back after careful review, which means they didn't do anything. It's the usual. But there were quite a few views. There were thousands of views on that video, and it's just yet one more way to remove everything from it. It's a pattern that they're doing with a lot of people, and I'm just pointing it out to you guys to keep you informed, so you know what our friendly YouTube is doing. But you know, it's really funny, since the CDC has come out with all this backtracking on masks and vaccines and all the things that people were saying for the last 2 years, and now the CDC is coming out and saying them. Now all of a sudden, things were getting banned or not getting banned. You know, it's like it's a fact that the masks served no purpose. And now that the CDC has actually said it, you can say that without getting your video banned. But for 2 years, you couldn't say that, regardless of the fact that it was true. Okay, enough of that. Anyway, I just kind of found it humorous that I was bullying myself. Twitter, no thanks. You know, Amazon bought Twitter, and Amazon is trying. They're doing a bunch of things for short-term profit, and I suspect that after they milk it dry within 1 or 2 years, they're going to abandon it. They may try to sell it, but it's already a piece of crap. And it's the problem I have with it, aside from it's a piece of crap, is it's designed for children playing video games, not even really for adults that like to watch video games. I do sometimes, but it's for children. It's got all these childish colors and flashes and silly things that are just pointless. So Twitter, no. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, Twitch. Everything I just said, I was talking about Twitch. Twitter, that's a whole different thing, because they don't do what this kind of platform does. You could post a video to it, but I couldn't do this on Twitter. Gotcha. Sorry about that. Yeah, they're unleashing the chains. I had Twitch on my mind because I was just looking into that this morning, and I guess I saw the T word and jumped at it. So yeah, God bless Elon Musk. You know, hopefully everything he says is going to be true. Is going to be the way he's going to do it. Okay, so I was contacted by one of the people that helps me with rentals for you guys, and he ran one by me. Now, I'm going to be perfectly straight with you. Personally, I think this one's really overpriced. I know the apartment, or at least the building and the apartments like it. It's not very big, although it looks kind of spacious in the pictures, but you know, photos can be deceiving. It is nicely equipped. It's got a couple TVs in it, but it's a $900,000 a month apartment, and they're asking almost double because it's furnished. But let me show you, because some of you might have interest in it. It's a rental for, it can be as short as 6 months or for a year. And they want a deposit on it too. Normally I don't deal with deposits myself, but they wanted a $500,000 security, or 500,000 peso security. And the price is 1,700,000. So let me show you so you can, you know, see what you think about it. Somebody might say, hey, for 6 months, it's worth it. Now, again, this is not a short term. It's not an Airbnb. It's not like for a month or something like that. This is a minimum of 6 months. So, like I said, I am not recommending this. I'm just letting you know, because people come and go here, and you know, sometimes they ask, and that might be suitable. It is a decent location. Natalie used to live in that building, and I don't know, this might even be the apartment she used to have. It's the same layout. I'm not sure. So so I let you know. As far as Emil, he's returning on June 8th, and I'll show you guys that, because as far as I know, it's available between now and May 26th, I believe. So for the next 3 weeks, Emil's apartment is available. So let me quickly show you that, and then after that, it's done. He's back with his wife, and they'll be happily living in Colombia again. Speaking of Natalie, when's she going to join us on Coffee Time again? You know, I don't know. I keep messaging her. She doesn't, she'll message me just like, hi, how you doing? And then I don't hear from her for the rest of the day. I know she's been busy. She's had a lot going on. She opened a beauty salon. And Hella, you may remember, she was on here and I did an interview video with her. She's actually using the second floor of this building because she's a professional masseuse. And so she's got a massage thing set up on the second floor. And on the first floor is this beauty salon. And it's located at the Armenia Hotel, which is across the road from Mokawa. It's like the nicest hotel in Armenia. Very, very fancy schmancy. And it's part of that. So it's like, beauty salon. You know, it's not a shy, retiring beauty salon. What do we got? Sam and Peg, how you doing? Colombians don't like to give deposits back. Be careful. Yeah, there's some truth in that. One reason why I don't really do deposits. The closest I'll come is maybe 100,000 as a cleaning deposit, but then I'll actually use it as a cleaning deposit. You know, it's like, okay, you clean it, you got paid for it. Okay. Now, lessons in car repair. I'm saying all the time, you know, it makes no sense to have a car here. And lately I've got people, they're saying, but you have a car. I have it for a specific reason. And if I didn't have that reason, I wouldn't have it. They're a pain in the butt. They're an extra expense. And of course, you know, you also have your typical problems with cars. You're going to have repairs. Now, after I bought it, I filled the gas tank, and all of a sudden I had this massive gas leak. It was fuming up inside the car. It was really bad. And so I parked it for a while, and it was the week, that was the Holy Week. And so there was nothing, you know, everybody was tied up with that. So I couldn't get it repaired. I couldn't do anything because it's under the car. I had no way to lift it up. I don't have any tools here anyway. So, you know, I'm trying to get somebody to repair it. So I got it towed over, and the repair was pretty cheap. But I gave him a few things on a list. None of them were major, but I gave him a few things on a list as long as it was there. And he got back to me and he says, okay, the gas is going to cost this, and I'm going to be this. And it was all very reasonable. The next thing I know, I get videos taking my engine apart. And let me show you. Well, I think this is actually a clip of him putting it back together, but it's only a minute. So let me show you this.
Voy, papi.
Um, if you know about cars, you could see he was torquing it back down. The head was actually removed on the car. So it was like a major thing. And so I get the videos of this and showing the head off the car. I guess I just put the ones back together. I just grabbed some quick ones. But I said, don't do any more. Let me come over there. Now, this is not bragging. This is just a fact. When it comes to automobile repairs, I am actually an expert. You know, I began at 10 years old. I'm not going to go through my whole history, but through most of my life, I've been in automobile repair and body and paint repair. And granted, through the second half of my life, I owned or managed or consulted on those things. But for a number of years, a few decades, you know, these hands would get dirty, and I just got tired of getting greasy. And then I taught classes at the local Votech and then at the university. And then I taught classes for people actually in the industry. So I did, taught, owned. You know, I'm certified an ASC master mechanic, if you know what that is. So I know what I'm talking about. And this is a very basic thing. Engine repair in my world is very basic. So I said, let me come over there. And so why did you do this? So he shows me a video where he ran compression on the engine, and the compression was low in questionable 1 or 2 cylinders. I'm not sure what he was trying to, the video wasn't complete. And I said, okay, but I didn't tell you to do this, and it ran perfectly fine. Granted, it's high miles, and I'm sure that there's a lot of wear and tear, but you know, it was smooth, ran fine, wasn't anything on my list. You can't just pull this apart. Well, you know, we pride ourselves in our complete job. This is all in Spanish. Nobody spoke English, and I, you know, I got that. I probably should have videotaped because I was hammering them with my horrible Spanish. But basically, what it boiled down to is, all right, you've got it apart. Now you show me why I had bad compression. And so they pointed to this and pointed to that, and I had to explain to them because either they didn't know or they were just blowing smoke why that's not possible to cause a low compression problem. So we went to the, you know, to the valves, and surprisingly, the engine was actually very clean. The valves were spotless. You wouldn't think this was a high mileage engine. There was a little wear on the cams. Okay, I'm going too deep into that, but the bottom line was it didn't need to have the head pulled off because there wasn't adequate evidence of a problem. And when he did the compression test, my guess is he just did it wrong. I pointed that out. Hard to say. I wasn't there at the time. However, if you can't show me why it's got a compression, if you can't actually show me a problem like a bad head gasket or a piston slapping against the cylinder or a burned valve or something like that, then you're full of it. Plus, I didn't tell you to do this. So after about an hour and a half over there, finally they gave up, and they just didn't want to argue anymore because they were wrong, and they agreed to put it back together. And I did opt to pay the $3 or so for the head gasket. You know, basically it was just labor, and you know, it's like, you're going to give me that labor back because I didn't, and they did. You know, to their credit, once we got to the point where they had nothing to argue anymore, and I think I really surprised them. And that's what, I guess it's the real point of my story. In the United States, a car mechanic or a mechanic shop, they don't know if you know about cars or not. And as time goes on, less and less people know about cars, and the cars get more complicated. But a fair share of people walk in the door that have a pretty decent knowledge of how at least an engine works. And so you're going to have car repairs that pull this, you know, they're going to give you a song and dance just to pad the bill in hopes that you don't know. But they get caught fairly often on that kind of stuff because so many people do know. And here in Colombia, I was thinking about this. This is not a car culture. And so you got few and far between people that know anything about cars. Now, this place is very popular with taxis. It has a good reputation. But if you don't know any better, and I'm not saying, you know, I'm not saying they're evil. What I'm saying is they have a business practice that has developed because they've got people coming in that don't know any better. And this place in particular has the mindset that every car is justified in making it brand new. Well, if you have a car with 1 million miles on it, it's not justified to make it brand new because of the expense versus the value of the car. You know, you kind of cobble them together. There's things that you can do, and when it comes to the point where you can't, then you get rid of the car. And so they take that judgment out of your hands because they just assume that they know and you don't know. And so they were actually pretty good to work with, you know, so I don't want to misrepresent. We had a good time. There was about 5 of them there trying to, it was hilarious, the, you know, some of the explanations, but they ended up getting one by one, getting embarrassed, and they kind of slunk away until the original guy was just there with me, and he just kind of gave up and conceded to take care of it. But I think that's what you have here. And I've watched some transactions with a couple of the taxis and taxi drivers, because if anybody's going to covet the money, it's going to be taxi drivers. The margins are thin. And I saw some of this going on there where they're saying, well, you really need to do this or that. And as I'm looking, I'm seeing they didn't really need to do it. It wasn't false, but they could have easily not done it. It's, you know, in the car industry, you have this good, better, and best thinking these days in customer service. And you want to have the bare minimum of what it'll take to fix the complaint that the customer has. And then you've got, well, it could also use this, this, and this. Well, as long as we're in there and it's some of the labor will duplicate it. And then you got the best one where everything on the car that we see, yeah, you have a skip in the engine that needs spark plugs, but we also noticed a blown shock leaking oil. And so you have these 3 levels, and, you know, how much do they want to spend? And all those things can be legitimate, should be legitimate. Well, here they kind of just jump to the higher level because people don't know any better. And I think it's a matter of course. I think they're proud that they're doing such a complete job. But one, it's not their decision. It shouldn't be their decision to make. And it's not their money. And it isn't really necessary to keep the car going in many of those cases. So I want to bring that up to you so that if you do have a car or get a car, understand that this is something that you're going to run into. You have a car, you're going to need repairs. And so the bottom line was they agreed to give me the labor back and put it together. I agreed to take care of the head gasket. There's nothing wrong with a head gasket, but you don't reuse them. And so I'm very happy with it. After this video is over, he invited me to come over to pick it up today. He said he would come back to the shop in order for me to pick it up. I don't know, I may wait till Monday. But that's today's lesson in car repair, and yet one more reason it just doesn't make a lot of sense. Now, God forbid if you get yourself a car here and you don't know anything about cars, it's like now you're stuck with who are you going to rely on? You know, I think these are good people, but if I were to continue using them, I will have to school them on as long as I bring a car in here, this is how you're going to have to do this so that we don't have an hour-and-a-half problem every time, because I'm not going to let these things slide. So there's that. All right, let me see if we can catch up here. Man, these are scrolling by. Oh, you got some inner talking. That's good. I live in Pineda, ASC certified. You don't need that. You just choose YouTube videos. Yeah. My son is ASC certified. That's not a giveaway. ASC certification. I'm actually supportive of it. I used to be on a board for them because they actually test you out on your knowledge. So you don't go through some fake class and a multiple choice quiz at the end. This is actually it's a test out that are hidden. They change constantly. You know, you go into a room, it's a sealed booklet kind of deal. And they're not gimme questions. They're very specific, pointed questions. And if you don't know what you're talking about, you will fail that test. I remember years ago, back in the early 80s, I wanted to test out on air conditioning, but I didn't know that much about it. I mean, I could refill it. I didn't know that much about it. And I figured, I'll go in, I can ace the test. I went in there, I failed it miserably. I was really surprised. It was very specific. It was very technical. It was very pointed, and there was no way. That's when I realized, so I learned the topic. I eventually got that taken care of, but I actually had to learn what it was I was talking about. So I have respect for anybody who has that certification. And when I said ASC certified master tech, what that means is you've done every category that they have, and you've passed all of them. Yum Yum? Who's Yum Yum? Let's see, we got some message retracted. I don't know what that's about. I'm Alejandra, I'm in Armenia. Yes, you are. If I get a car, I'll call it and see you before going to the mechanic. ASC is education. Well, it's actually testing. Mechanics try to upsell. Yeah, here definitely. And in the U.S., yeah, the problem in the U.S. that I saw, at one point, I became very involved in high levels, such as expert witness in court cases, I'd be called. And I would be called in on situations to review as to whether they're being upsold something that they shouldn't or whether it was something legitimate. And very often, what you would consider to be an upsell or padding a bill was simply a matter of poor explanation and the customer not trusting because there was no relationship. And so he didn't trust what he's being told, and this guy is not explaining it very well. But in reality, the thing that he was trying to get the customer to do was something that was necessary. And so communication's a big part of issues. And God forbid, I'm over there with my 3-year-old Spanish, but they got through because you know what? We all talked mechanic. We all talked engine. And I did learn a few words that they use that are not Spanish, but they're unique to Colombia. For example, the cylinder head's called a culata. I'd never heard that, and you won't find it in any translator. Anyway, I don't want to get a car, but it's a necessity for me in the location of the finca. Yeah, if you got a finca, yeah, you're gonna need a car. Lord, you the man, not a bully. Well, apparently I am. Okay, so now that we have done that, let's get to it's Q&A time. It's time to start asking your questions. Remember, 4 question marks first, then ask the question. All right. So if you got any questions, now's the time. Agua sin gas. All right. Well, we're waiting for the questions to pop up. The insurance, travel insurance, if you're moving here and you need travel insurance until you get your cedula, I recommend these guys. They're great prices as compared to what's out there. What you're going to want to get is 2 months. Now, if you're traveling, just get whatever you're traveling. But if you're coming here to get your visa and waiting on your cedula, you're going to want 2 months of this. And the link for that is in the description below. And if you show up, I bullied too many people and I'm thrown off YouTube, my webpage, grandcolumbia.live, you click on videos, you will always find my live video playing there no matter what platform I'm on. All right, first one. Is there any protest as the elections approach? There will be. It's been pretty quiet. I think a lot of people are getting back to work. I think as those restrictions have fallen by the wayside, people are less angry in general. I was told on those bad protests that took place in Cali and some around the country, I mentioned that you have so many people that are just really PO'd because of the restrictions. And I had a number of people, no, you're crazy, including some people here in Colombia told me that I was crazy. But as those restrictions have lifted, we're seeing less and less of the protesting going on. But with the election coming up, even if people aren't necessarily looking so much for protests, there will be people that will be instigating some. So there will be some protests. But like I said, if you're not in Bogota or Cali, it's probably not going to get. It's not going to be bad. What is the best grocery store in Armenia for online shopping? You mean like Rappi, I assume. Olympica probably, or Super Inter. Exito, I have a problem with Exito in general for my own personal reasons. I'm not here to slam them. I don't care if you love them, that's great. I just personally have had some issues. But they probably have products occasionally that the others don't, just because they're just really a big operation. But if I do online, I'll do Super Inter or Olympica. The way I do it is for basic things like bread and milk and, your staples. I'll do that online and I'll have it delivered to my door. And then I'll go to the supermarket for things that, I'm kind of a browser. So I kind of wander down the aisles and I say, oh, let me get that. Oh, let me get that. So that's how I do it. And that way I don't have so much to carry. I don't do the one shopping trip. I just do the basics online, and then I only have to carry, whatever struck my fancy when I went there. And I don't suggest getting fresh fruit or vegetables with online shopping unless you're sick and you really have to. Because a lot of times you're going to get the worst of it. It's just going to be crap, and you don't really have much you can do about it. So, save those things for going out. The new supermarket, which I have video on, that'll be going, I think Tuesday or Wednesday, it'll be going up. The new supermarket is also on Rappi now. And I did one the other day with some basic things, and it was fine. They're usually fine. Besides the multitude of civic parks in Bucaramanga, is it worth a visit? Absolutely. I don't know what you're going to like. I'm not sitting here telling people, oh, you really need to come to Armenia. I really don't care if people come to Armenia or Breda or Bagay. When I talk about these cities, I'm just talking about my personal opinion as far as how it suits me. You know, Ibagué for me is too hot. Somebody else might go there and think it's just right. You know, the Goldilocks effect. Pareda, it's too dirty. But there's awesome places in Pareda. There's awesome places in Ibagué. And you go there, it might trip your trigger. I love Manizales. You might go there and hate it for some reason. Bucaramanga, it's the wealthiest city in Colombia. And with that brings certain perks. And I think if you're really interested in living in Colombia, it's worth looking into. It's quite a city. It's unique. There's things about it unto itself. I certainly recommend it. I love one in particular. There's a couple malls there that are really spectacular. There's one that's kind of built like a ship, and it's got a Holiday Inn built into it. It's really big, but it's got your typical food court, but then at the bow of this ship, you have the adult food court where you can go for actual nice sit-down dinners. They've got 2 or 3 bars. There's a couple that are outside on the Lido deck. You know, it's got a view of the entire city. It's pretty spectacular. Really well done, well laid out, and it's known throughout South America, Bucaramanga, for the quality of a couple of its malls. One of them is either first or second in some stat. I don't remember now. If you watch my series of 5 or 6 videos on it, I talked about it. Yes. Previously, my resident visa got me out of having a COVID test to enter. Has this been eliminated? It's very hard for me to get one in the rural area before flying. To be honest with you, I only focused on basically foreigners coming in. If that's the way it worked before, I do think it's excluded for if you have your actual residency, where I don't. I've got a visa. Next year I can get my residency. If you have your actual residency, if that excluded you before, it certainly would now, because they haven't gotten stricter, they've gotten easier. A lot in Bogota. That's protests. Yeah, always in Bogota and Cali. And those are the places where if they're going to get violent, it's going to be in Bogota and Cali. Besides the multitude of simple, okay, mention that one. Yeah, I can't do my on-screen thing. It's not working again. Every week it's failing. I don't know. I really don't know what that's about. Let me take a look at something here. Do 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 do. If I can reconnect it. It's easier for me when it's working, but it's loading. Boom. Holy moly. You guys been writing up a storm. All right. According to Luz, a little delay on Pensionado visa. Let people know I did mine on 4/18 and nothing yet. Well, what she's talking about, I have had a conversation about this, and what she's talking about is there's a 10-day delay on getting the appointment at the embassy in Bogota. And normally it's a couple days, but that's not going to set anything back by weeks. So it's still going to be within that month time frame. You did yours April 18th. Well, nothing yet. You wouldn't expect it yet, but the way it's been and the way it's going to be is probably mid-March, you'll be done. You know, maybe as late as the third week of May, I mean. mid-May or the third week of May, and you're going to have yours. So she's very good at giving people a heads up on any change. But the thing I can't seem to get across to her is some of these changes are so minute. It's better just to not even tell people because they get the wrong impression. That's how I ended up talking about this. Yeah, don't sweat it. April 18th, you're what? 10 days ago? It's in process. You'll see it within the next couple weeks, which would be normal. Any good bike trails in Armenia? Armenia is nothing but biking. There's a number of bicycle clubs. On weekends, you're going to see people biking up out of town. You have real hardcore guys that'll be biking up to Salento, which if you've been on the road to Salento, you know why it's hardcore. You know, if you like biking uphill for half an hour, I mean like uphill. No, it's a very popular sport here. I wouldn't recommend biking in town. You know, it's you know, a fair amount of traffic. It's not great for bikes in town. Even where there's bike paths, you know, taxis see that as places to pull in and pick people up. But it only takes you 10 minutes, no matter where you are in town, to get out of town into the country on a bike. So I would do it that way. How do you like the new supermarket inside Colima? It's meet the new boss, same as the old boss. It's very similar to La Catorce, even the layout. I was kind of wondering, with La Catorce going through its bankruptcy, if they didn't just reconstitute as this place. You haven't been there. You weren't there when La Catorce was actually there and fully functioning. This looks like I'm not a betting person. If I were, I would gamble that the same people behind La Catorce, this is their operation. It's a good supermarket. I don't know what else to say. If you live in 360, it's convenient as hell, that's for sure. How do these markets you mentioned compare to Super Maxi? This will surprise you because people say you're always beating up on Ecuador. Super Maxi, I think, is a great operation, and it's one of the best things in Ecuador. They run a very good business. It's surprising that it's in Ecuador because so much around it is crap. But I wish we had a Super Maxi here. The closest to it is like a Coruja, which we don't have in Armenia, at least not yet. There's rumor that there's one going to be coming. How would I compare? I would give the edge to Super Maxi, but that's the edge. It's like, how much do you need in a supermarket? You know, it's like this has eggs, this has eggs. This has import beef, this has import beef. So I have to say that there's nothing in the supermarkets of Olympica, for example, versus Super Maxi. I don't know that there's much of anything that I can't get from one that's in the other. There might be a few things in Super Maxi. On the other hand, there's nothing I can't get in Colombia one way or the other, but there's quite a few things in Ecuador that you can't get. So the overall picture is better, be it Mercado Libre. I like to put a little bit of chocolate in my coffee. And the easiest one for me is just get the Hershey's thing. I don't put sugar. It's already got sugar in it. So I'll put like a teaspoon of that chocolate in my coffee. So that's probably a half a teaspoon of sugar. It takes the bitterness out of the coffee. So I can buy that in Price Mart. I can buy it at the Supermercado Rurales, but they don't always have it. But I can order up 2 of them for the price of one through Mercado Libre, get it delivered to my house. It's like 2 big ones that each one will last me like a couple months. And it's like 60,000 for both. They come in a 2-pack. So that's pretty handy. Whatever you can think of, you can pretty much get through them also. So so what you're saying, it's almost a non-issue, but if I were to compare Olympica to Super Maxi, I would give the edge to Super Maxi. If I were to compare Super Maxi to Coruja, I would give it to Coruja. Now you've got those in many of the cities, and you got it in Manizales, you've got them in Pereira, but you don't have them here in Armenia. Are there different levels to your membership? I saw on your homepage. Well, there is, but this is what happened with that. Everything has been driven by people requests. And when I had the YouTube thing going, there was a membership feature there. And so we started that up. And as part of that, you would put in certain perks. And so I, based on what conversation with some people that I knew, you guys, I put together this package for some perks. Now, here's the thing. It took a fair amount of administration, no big deal. I mean, you know, people are paying for something. Happy to do it. Except for one time, nobody took advantage of any of them. People were basically just inclined to support the channel. And this was a way to do a recurring thing, so they didn't have to think about it. They didn't have to, post up every day, when I'm doing a live or whatever. It would just be some reoccurring thing. And so that's what it's become because of that. And so it's got the different price amounts based on what people want to contribute to the channel. But if people aren't using any perks, I would be very, like one of them, for example, was a group live, like a Zoom call where there might be 6 of us on the screen. We did this actually one time. That's the one perk that was used. And all 6 of us were on the screen and we could all talk, ask question, answer it, just have a conversation. And it was kind of cool, but nobody was ever interested again. Part of it is because people's schedules are different. People are located different places. Putting it together was kind of a nightmare, but we managed that one time, but then it was just, nobody was really interested again. So it's things like that. So nope, there's no perks other than you're supporting this channel and everything that I do. The more I get, the better secure backups and things like that, so that we have less downtime. And if I get beyond that, then it goes into actually going somewhere and doing a video and covering expenses like a hotel or whatever, bus tickets, however that goes. So, all right, what do we got here? Those prices in the markets here have gone way up. What do you think of D1 market? They seem to be the cheapest. Yeah, they're probably the cheapest. I don't like them. I don't like the level of quality of their products. Now that's a kind of a generic statement, and whether you go to this one or if you go to that one, I'm sure there's going to be variations. I've gone to D1 probably half a dozen times early on. And eventually I said, I just don't want to come here anymore. There's a lot of things they don't have. I will say that a lot of their basic things were a cheaper price, but it wasn't like dramatically cheaper. It's like I might save 10 cents on the eggs, but I've still got to go to another supermarket to get other things. So rather than make 2 trips to do 2 different ones, I just go to the one that has everything. So, but D1 exists, ARA exists. I'm just not a fan of those. And but we'll be looking at an Ara because they just opened a brand new one down the street in this coming week. That's one that I'll be talking about. What else we got here? Oh, the mall. Yep, that's the name of the mall in Bucaramanga. All the roads that go to the towns are pretty good for it for bike riding. Yeah, Alejandra takes her skateboard. She calls it a longboard, but it's a skateboard, and she goes out for miles and miles out in the country to. She's been down to the airport and back. I mean, it's crazy. I can't imagine skateboarding out there, but yeah, it's definitely not a problem if you're into bikes. Yeah, there's a bike shop in front of Mokawa. There's bike shops actually all over the place. They tend to be kind of pricey, but they also tend to have high level equipment. Like you're going to find, you'll find aluminum bikes, but you'll find a lot of carbon fiber bikes. You're not going to find much. You're not really going to find bicycles like if you went into Walmart and bought a $150 bike. I never really see those here. You're going to see mid and high range bicycles. I think they're pretty serious about bicycles. We just bike to get around for fun. If we're getting around town, it's probably not going to work for you. If you want a bike to get around, I mean, you can. Alejandra does. But I personally wouldn't really advise that, depending on where you live, of course. There's no building in Armenia like 360, very convenient. Yeah, it's a pretty unique building. There's something similar. I can't remember the name of it, but there's one or two buildings near Portel Condillo Mall that have a similar setup. But 360 is a very unique building. There is nothing really like it, and I really kind of miss it. Do you know anything about dual citizenship? What procedures are, papers needed, and where to go? My father is Colombian, but had passed away. In those circumstances, not really. I would gather up the birth certificate, any kind of documentation on him, and take it to Lou. She'll know about it. They're pretty good about it. I mean, if your parents or you, if you were born here and moved to the United States after you were born, you can get it, but you know there is a process that you have to go through. Dual citizenship for somebody not like that, like after I do my residency, after a certain period of time, I can then apply for citizenship and then have dual citizenship. But for me, there's going to be other things like a certain level of knowledge of Spanish, a certain level of knowledge of history, kind of like the U.S. does or used to do. Any folks living outside of Armenia, we want to visit outside of Armenia, Circassia. I recommend going to either the Facebook page, Adventures in Grand Colombia, or the Discord channel. Go in there. I've been steering a lot of people there. You can have conversations, bring that up, make connections, and then you don't have to have me as a middleman. Price smart if you have plenty of money. Yes and no. It depends on what you're getting. Price smart is cheap for a lot of things. You're just paying more because you're getting more of it. But if you break those things down, it's cheaper. It depends. The thing is, know your products, know your prices, go in there and you'll know what's a good bargain and what's not. But for me, the beauty of PriceSmart is I can go in there and whatever I couldn't find somewhere, I can find there. Bedding. You'll find top of the line sheets and pillowcases, for example, and it's very difficult to locate them. Like, you won't find them in Armenia. You can order them online, but it's hit and miss because you didn't get a chance to actually see, how they work. So, PriceSmart's good for that. Are your electric and water bills in your name or the apartment owner's name? They're always in the apartment owner's name. So utility bills. Now, internet, that's something different, but your basic utility bills, gas, electric, and water will always be in the landlord's name or the owner's name. Actually, this is an excellent area in Centenario. Thank you, Lauren, for bringing me to it. I didn't bring you. You brought yourself. This Armenia is a paradise. Even the airport is called Helidan. Good food, good weather, good-looking women. Yeah, I know you've been here for a while now, and it's nice that you love it. I just love it here. I can't picture me leaving Armenia. If you use vitamins or supplements, where do you get them? Mercado Libre looks cheaper than many of the local drugstores. That's absolutely true. You're going to get them more closer in line with wholesale price, Mercado Libre. I don't really deal with those things very much, but there are, like here in Armenia and in Manizales, where you're from, there are quite a few, I don't know what you'd say, health stores. I mean, you can go in and get protein and, all the kind of things that people will buy to, feel like they're being healthy. And you can get them there, but it will be more retail. Mercado Libre will have all that stuff, brands you're familiar with, and that's probably a better way to go, because those things can get pretty expensive. I'd like to promote my Japanese friend's Oriental restaurant, Wabi in Salento. Okay. But when you go to Salento, you're supposed to eat trucha. How about Ara? Well, I mentioned them, and I'll be doing a video very soon on them. Not my D1 and Ara is not my cup of tea, but not a bad place. There's also I can't think of the name of it, but there's like the ultra discount generic kind of place. There's one near Portal Candio. They're around at different places. One of you is going to know the name. They're very limited on the products they sell, but everything that they sell is, I would say, is probably the cheapest in town. Outside of, going to a local farm or something. Who is the presidential candidate that's currently favored to win in Colombia according to the polls? Well, last I looked, which was last week, Fico had a resounding lead. If you were to, Alejandra came here last night with her mother. Her mother's visiting, and they stopped by for dinner. And her mother's for Fico, and I was pointing out that anybody over the age of 30, 35 that was alive and conscious, back in the 70s, 80s, 90s, will absolutely not vote for Petro, the murdering criminal, because they remember those things. It's part of their life. Now, Alejandra and a lot of people that are of university age, they think Petro is the way to go. He's going to bring change. Well, he will bring change, but it's because they don't know. They didn't live through what the older people lived through. And so you have huge populations in Medellin and in Bogota, the bigger cities, of university age people. And the majority of them are leaning towards petro. Pretty much everybody that's over 30, 35 is leaning to FICO. In Armenia, that's all you see anywhere is signs for FICO. You know, you get into the heart of Colombia, it's FICO. So, but the national poll last week had FICO ahead, and I covered this. There was a number of things that came out about various corruptions and embezzling and all that with, you know, surrounding Petro, his brother, you know, other people in that party. Because what the hell, they're criminals. Yeah, it's what they do. So let's, you know, let's hope it stays like that. I love biking. Time to watch basketball. Go Celtics. Ciao. I could care less. I stopped watching basketball when I would watch the Boston and LA 70s. It all became less interesting after that. No Facebook. Well, that's a good thing. Is it just me, or do many furnished apartments mount their TVs way up high on the wall? No, it's true. It's true. I hate it. I have my TVs mounted, and the first time I had it done in Provenza, the guy was trying to get it up high, and I had him, no, and I brought it down to the, you know, the middle of the wall, and he was like, "Really? You sure?" I said, "Yeah, I'm sure. It's a thing here. I don't know why. It would drive me insane." I'm with you on that, but you know, it's like for your own place, you do it however you want to do it. Trucha is delicious. Yeah, they break all the rules. They use seafood with cheese. Of course, cheese in Colombia, right? Everything, no matter what it is, if it's got cheese, it's good. And there's that unwritten rule. Well, actually, it's kind of a written rule around the world about cheese and seafood does not mix. But here, no. As a matter of fact, you can buy a trucha that you can't even see because it's just a layer of melted mozzarella cheese over it. I think Gordon Ramsay would have a heart attack just seeing that. All right. How are we doing? You've probably heard me ramble on long enough. Let me see where we're at. Oh, I got quite a few people on. We have any more questions? Any more questions? No, we've run over about 10 minutes, so Alejandra Lauren has my info. Yeah, I've got it. She sent me an email with it, whatever is in there. I didn't delete it, so just remind me. Cheese and ice cream. Yeah, they put cheese and ice cream. That's true. Absolutely. They put cheese in hot chocolate. They'll put cheese in coffee. I'm serious. And this isn't like a weird thing. This is like a normal thing. So only PCR to get in now for unvaccinated. PCR or antigen. That's the latest. And you can find it on the Ministry of Health for Colombia. All right, we got anything else? I think I've covered everything. Last call for questions. Victor, contribution, thank you. I didn't notice that one. George, Yuka, thank you guys, really appreciate it. I have I've been cubby holing a little bit, and I've got a upcoming trip into a place that you guys be the last place that you would expect me to go, but I'll be going probably in the next 2 weeks. Be interesting. Looking forward to it. All right. I guess that's it. So I want to thank you again. I appreciate you all, and I will see you next Sunday.